Hi everyone. So are you interested to see the new MacBook Pro Wi-Fi 7 capability? So in this video, I will go through and test, like whether it's capable of doing MLO, whether it is supporting 320 megahertz, all this detail. So now my test setup is, I am using a 9800 manage 9178 access point. And initially access point will be configured for dual band SSID 6 GHz and 5 GHz. So I will be connecting my new MacBook Pro with M5 chip, which is Wi-Fi 7 capable. So this is the first MacBook Pro supporting Wi-Fi 7, and see what kind of MLO capability it will get. Now, packet capturing point of view, I'm still using a Meraki access point. So in that way, I have a same channel number set on the Meraki access point as well, but it doesn't have any client at the moment on the Meraki side. So in that way, idea is pretty much we should be able to see the packets going through this 9178 managed by the 9800. So now you can see here, like this is my Wi-Fi Explorer. So you can see I have a Meraki access point also same as 9800 manage SSID, so which is setting for channel number 5, 320 megahertz. Now on 5 gigahertz, I have a 160 megahertz SSID on the 9800, but in the Meraki I cannot really configure more than 80 megahertz in that way packet capture point of view. So sometime if the traffic goes through the 5 gigahertz entire 160, so I may not able to capture that. That's the one limitation to be aware of. As a side note, like sometime if you are, using this new Mac, now it has a sort of a new Apple N1 chip, like that way you can see that's a sort of chip comes with this MacBook Pro. In that way at the moment, so this adapter cannot be put into monitor mode. In that way, if you have a sort of Airtool kind of application, so you may not able to use that to take packet capture. In that way, even though the application shows here, but whenever you're saying take packet capture, and when you're trying to put monitor mode, it won't work. So be aware of that, in that way. Now, if you're day-to-day basis, if you're using this tool, probably this new MacBook still with the N1 chip is not supporting monitor mode. So in that way, this packet capture application may not work. So now in here, I really wanted to check the Wi-Fi 7 capability of the MacBook Pro. That way I'm not using this. So that's why I move forward with getting this device. So now let's go ahead and do the test. So now eventually what we are trying to understand is this a sort of a multi-link single radio device or multi-link multi-radio device? If it is a multi-link multi-radio device, typically it will be able to transmit, receive simultaneously across multiple band, what we call MLMR-STR capability. Okay, so hopefully through packet capture, we should be able to verify that. Now let me just go ahead now. So sometime when I connect my client, at the moment my this Mac computer is not connected to MR and PSK SSID, which is 9800 manage. So sometime when I connect that, so I will lose my management capability. In that way, I have a sort of a different sort of a remote computer where I can check client status and those kind of detail. So at the moment, there's a one client that is not this, like a MacBook client. In that way, this is not the client we are connecting here. Okay, so now let me just go ahead and connect this client, and let me just go ahead and connect this client. probably this remote session will be disrupted for a period of time. That's okay. Now it got connected. Okay, now I need to, because we didn't initiate the packet capture. So let's go ahead and do the packet capture first, because I want to see the packet capture. So now let's go ahead and do an intelligent capture. I'm capturing that access point, download. Now let's 10 minutes worth of capture. Now in here, I will still capturing on the Meraki, but now this is 9800 manage MacBook Pro M5 5 GHz and 6 GHz MLO, let's say -1. Now let's start the capture, let it going, and then I will go ahead and connect this client to MR and PSK. Now if I click on the option here, you can say it's connected, like appear to be. Now it's showing channel 5 6 GHz 160 MHz. So that's the one thing you can see clearly. So MacBook is not capable of doing 320 MHz. Okay, in my 6 GHz I have set up SSID 320, but you can see he's connecting only 160. That means this N1 chip only 160 MHz, which is okay. In a production practical environment we will not go to 320 MHz. In that way it's not a big deal. But I would say now this MCS index, you can see here, it fluctuating between 10 and 11. So now if you look at the MCS index table, MCS index 10 and 11 mean, which is 1024 COM. Okay, so in that way it is not capable of doing a 4K COM. That's another limitation you need to be mindful about. I'm not sure whether that's a hardware limitation of the N1 chip, or sometime with the firmware, whether they're able to do it later on, I don't know. But by appear to be looking at, it's not able to do the 4K COM. That's one thing to basically, if you are really looking for a higher data rate value. Now in that particular sense, the maximum data rate value you will get is with 160 megahertz, now 2.4 gigabits per second. Okay, so now if the Apple client is able to do the MLO multiple simultaneous transmit, receive and 5 GHz and 6 GHz, then probably you will get 2.4 plus certain 5 GHz as well. If you are able to do 160, pretty much like double of this, like a 4.8 gig. Otherwise, if it is not able to do that, more like a 2.5 gigabits or 2.4 gigabits per second kind of data rate value. Now you can see now what we're going to do is let's get a speed test done while monitoring the spectrum as well. Now I am here monitoring the spectrum, and let me just go to speed test app. Now in here I will do sort of a speed test with the public internet. So let's go ahead and do a speed test and see which band being utilized. Now you can see 5 GHz no activity, 6 GHz you can see it's using the 160 megahertz. Okay, so now it appear to be, even though client can do MLO, we don't know even that particular stage it's a MLO connection or not, but we can see definitely traffic point of view, traffic is not load balancing across 5 GHz and 6 GHz. Now let's see whether like in our client, if a remote session has been established, let's see whether we can see the details of client. So now you can see there's one client MLO, that's my MacBook 7F4D. Now let's one thing, it's the 7F4D is appearing here. You can see 7F4D appeared as a MAC address of here as well. Okay, so now it shows that one. If I click here, shows its MLO capability. Now you can see in here as well, it shows enhanced multi-link capabilities. No, it's a MLMR-STR capable. Yes. So that's what the client is indicating. He's indicating he can do MLMR-STR. But based on the speed test simply, I cannot see traffic is being load balanced. Sometime I noticed, in this new Mac, sometime when you open, let me just see whether if I open this packet capture, whether wires are getting crash. Yes, doesn't appear to be the case. It's good. So now in here, if you look at the management association request, now ideally, that's the one thing, I was anticipated to see my client MAC address, which is 7F4D. I cannot see a sort of association request. Now let's see whether copy that MAC address. At least I can filter the. Okay, it appears to be I cannot really copy from here. Now 7F4D. Even Wi-Fi 7 connection with MLMR. No, I cannot see. Yeah, that means even though 100,000 packet being captured, it appear to be, let's see what type of traffic being captured. Out of beacon frame. Probably let's do a test one more time and see whether we can capture the traffic in that sense. Let me just go ahead and do this testing one more time. So I will basically use the sort of, let me just copy the file name. Assurance Children's capture. Download 600 second. I will name as a second capture now here, but let's basically connect this client to a different SSID first. So now you can see he's connected to my MRN CCIW. So he's no longer with. Now I will go ahead and initiate the capture. So now I will go ahead and connect the client to MRN PSK. Now ideally he got connected 2401 MCS index 11. So now that's what we saw earlier as well. So it is 6 gigahertz. Okay. So now interesting thing to see is actually client is showing its multi-link capability and EHT capability in the association. I really would like to see a association being captured. So now with that setting, now let me just go to my Windows client and make sure sometime when I change the connectivity, my remote connection will be disrupted. So hopefully this will be re-established. And then we can see the client detail. So in this particular time, let it be like that. I really don't want to. Yeah, we can go ahead and do a speed test. It won't harm. Now let's do a speed test in this particular time as well. Now anticipation is probably you will see client is sending traffic across 6 gigahertz. Now let's go ahead and do that test. So you can see 5 gigahertz not being busy, but 6 gigahertz, 160 megahertz being busy. Okay, that means client is sending traffic only on one band. Again, we don't know why it's not load balancing. So that may be because I only have a 1 gig worth of traffic. 6 gigs, this can give like a 2.4 gig kind of data rate. So you saw, I would expect the similar kind of setup like earlier. Now this capture should be stopped anytime soon. I will let it automatically stop. Now see whether, now even this particular time, if you cannot see the association request frame, I have to do a bit more testing. And now let's open that capture MLO number 2 while open MLO number 2. Now management association request. Now at least in this particular time, I was able to capture some MR and PSK association, but it's coming from 51D6. Now if it is matching our client MAC address, now in here you can see it is not our client MAC address, but still I'm interested to see which device connected there. So now this is 51D6 copy value and management frame filter. I will put the client MAC address and see whether I can see. I can see that client connected, and then you can see he's doing some data. Probably this look like our I need to check we'll go through and check what is now, if it has an Apple kind of information element, this should be definitely my Mac. We can check the MAC address why it is different. Now here association request frame, tag parameters. So you can see it's Apple client. Okay, so that means I don't have any other Wi-Fi 7 client. So this should be if you look at the traffic as well. Now we need to somehow correlate this. So this could be 6 GHz specific MAC address 51D6. And then if you look at the EHT capability, now you can see here supported data rate. Now you can see maximum, it says it's supporting 160 megahertz. Now even the MCS values as well, you can say MCS 12 and 13 is not supported. Okay, other MCS index value is supporting 2 spatial strip. Now in the multi-link point of view, if we look at the multi-link capability, now common info, you can see there are no enhanced multi-link element capability. That means this is not enhanced multi-link capable. Now he is saying he is capable of sending traffic across 2 different bands. That's what the simultaneous link count equal to 1 mean. 1 mean he is saying he can do traffic across 2 bands. Now you can see the 7F4D. So now if I look at the 7F4D, so that is the MLD MAC address, 7F4D. You can see it matches here. So definitely this is our Apple client association. Okay. So now this 51D6 may be a link specific address, a 6 GHz specific address. Now in here, if you look at the per station profile, client will listed. It is now B6B1. So now 51D6 should be 6 GHz specific MAC address. So now we can see here. So that's the traffic originating from 51D6. 6 GHz specific MAC address. So this is the MLD MAC address, and this is 5 GHz specific MAC address. In that way, we got clarified on that. In that way, definitely this is my association. Now, ideally, one thing, like we can do is, like for example, if I copy this MAC address, copy value, let me go to a notepad. So this is our 5 gigahertz MAC of my Apple, and then this one is my 6 gigahertz specific MAC. And then this will be the MLD MAC address. So now if you want to see the traffic, like whether it's going across multiple, now what we can do is, now if I go to IO statistics, input output graph. Now if I expanded this, now let me just get rid of these two. Now I will change to this changing my client MAC address value to B6B1, and this is for the 51D6. So now, like let me use the same color, 6 gigahertz green, 5 gigahertz purple. 5 gigahertz is same purple color, and 6 gigahertz I have used green color. Now in here you can see I cannot really see the traffic, like across, like even if I put all packet, now I cannot really see, like packet to go for this 5 gigahertz kind of. Now that means like traffic is going only 6 gigahertz kind of band, so it is not being used like load balance. Now in here let me use bits per second kind of value rather than packet count, may be misleading, because packets, like sometime beacon frame management, those kind of traffic, but eventually it is not really. Now in here you can see I cannot see the purple kind of color traffic. Okay, so now in here as well, packet, I would say bit per second. You can see here pretty much. Now if I zoom into this kind of area, you can see total packet going through one particular band. So it is not like a simultaneously linked traffic has not been load balanced. Okay, in that way, if you put a link specific address, you can check that. In that way, just to conclude, now new MacBook, like they declare their multi-link, multi-radio, STR kind of capability. But like in my testing, the speed test kind of test which I generate, they're pretty much sending traffic across 6 gigahertz link, because I had a 320 megahertz bandwidth, but M5 client is 160 megahertz maximum channel width supported. So now the other thing to remember is, like no 4K COM, MCS index 12 and 13 won't be supported. So now if you check in your client, probably you will see maximum here, MCS index 11. Okay. Now with MCS index 11, depending on the channel width you go, so you can go for 2.4 gigabits per second kind of data rate value based on the MCS index value. In that way, Apple client point of view. Now I will do a test with all the 3-band enabled, separate video, because I feel like this is keep longer. In that way, to make the video short, I will keep it at this particular point. So now few things to be mindful about, as I said, like your Airtool may not work because this adapter is not supporting monitor mode. In that way, packet capture capability may not work immediately. But other than that, it is not a 320 MHz cable client. It's a MLMR client, simultaneous transmit receive capability. But I have to generate more testing and see whether I can generate some other simulated traffic, like a video conference call while speed test, and see whether those two traffic goes across two differently. So I will do those testing later and separately, but at least to the basic Wi-Fi 7 capability point of view, yes, this is supporting Wi-Fi 7. Yeah, hopefully this video find useful. Until I see you another video, take care.